Hi guys, really quickly I just want to review the notes for the assignment in Unit 4. This is the Thesis and Short Answer Quiz. So just really quickly, we are really trying to hit home ACE. ACE is going to be the most important tool for answering the short constructed response. But when you hear answer the question in ACE, and you hear a thesis statement, they're actually pretty much the same thing. If we scroll down here, right, you look in your quiz, we have a definition for thesis statement. A thesis statement is a statement of one's core argument or the main idea. So whatever essay you're writing, your purpose or your core argument or your main idea is just one sentence letting someone know this is what my essay is about. And if you look at the second part, your main idea when you take the STAR test or when you practice with a question or a prompt, that's your main idea. What is the question asking me? How am I going to answer the question? So again, your thesis statement is just one sentence. That's the main idea, and that's the answer to the question. So your answer is your thesis statement. So just some friendly reminders. When we talk about your thesis statement or your answer, right, in ACE, your thesis statement should always fully answer the question or the prompt. If you remember the example in the previous assignment, we looked at the dog Cujo. And the question asked, what can we infer about the dog? It wanted to know specifically about Cujo, so we had to make sure that we answered all parts of the question. What can we think about the passage, but also what specifically about the dog? We also should include the title and the author's name, right? In the novel Cujo by Stephen King, this is what I think about that dog. So we want to make sure that we have a very detailed answer that answers both parts of the question or the prompt. And we include whatever text we're talking about. What did they make you read? What's the title? What's the author? Another thing to remember for your thesis statement is part of our answer is talking about how we will prove it, right? If we say Cujo is intimidating, right? We might say the author uses descriptions to show us that Cujo is intimidating. And then the biggest thing, you guys, you're going to write some example thesis sentences. It only has to be one sentence. Now, if you really have a lot to say, this is going to be a long essay. Sometimes your thesis statement or your answer could be 2 sentences, but you only have to write one because it should just be, hey, here is my main idea. And just make sure when you write a thesis statement or an answer, don't put statements like I think, or this essay will be about, or in my opinion. We don't look as professional, right? When you answer a question, we're going to say it with confidence because it's the right answer. As long as you have text evidence, it's always going to be the right answer. So once you have a good idea and you feel like you understand this top part, then you're going to start to answer the questions in the quiz, starting with, in your own words, define the thesis statement, right? So do not copy and paste this. You've got to come up with your own definition, however you want to put that. And then you're going to answer how long a thesis statement should be, if it needs to answer all parts of the prompt, and then true or false, you should include the title. True, right? From there, 5, 6, and 7 want you to look at an example question, right? For example, number 5 uses a poem called Joint Custody by Ada Limon. And it wants you to just write a thesis statement. How does the speaker show that they grew up with abundance, right? If I'm using my ACE strategy, right? A is my thesis. I'm going to say the speaker shows that they grew up with abundance by, and then all I have to do is read the passage and figure out what's one way that they show abundance, right? When we read the poem, it says, why did I never see it for what it was? Abundance. And if you need to Google the definition of abundance, remember, we always need to look up our definitions. Abundance is a very large quantity of something. So you have a lot. In this case, right, with our quiz, they say, why did I never see for what it was? Abundance. 2 families, 2 different kitchen tables, 2 sets of rules, 2 creeks, 2 highways, 2 step-parents with their fish tanks or 8-tracks or cigarette smoke or expertise in recipes or reading skills. I cannot reverse it. The record scratched and stopped to the original chaotic track. But let me say, I was taken back and forth on Sundays and it was not easy, but I loved each place. And so I have 2 brains now, 2 entirely different brains. The one that always misses where I'm not, and the one that is so relieved to finally be home. So one of the ways they talk about having a lot is they talk about how they had 2 of everything. So I might answer this to say the speaker shows they grew up with abundance by explaining how they have 2 of everything. Awesome. I'm done. Normally, right, to actually answer this question, we would need to use the rest of our ACE, right? We would come up with which quote we want to use from the poem to cite our evidence, and then we would explain how that evidence goes back to our question. But for this quiz, we are only practicing a thesis statement or an ACE. So you're just going to write that one sentence and then be done. So practice that for 6 and 7. And of course, let your teacher know if you have any questions.